Hey everyone, today I have for you this Swedish Mauser. Alright, let's go ahead and address this thing right away. So when I bought this rifle, it did not have its original rear sight. And when I bought it, I figured I could always get a replacement. But then I started thinking about it, and I decided to get the most out of this rifle and this cartridge, I need an optic. So since I didn't have a rear sight anyway, I decided to get a scope rail that fits in the place of the rear sight. It's a non-permanent modification, and it is a bit of a compromise, but it works pretty well. And this is actually one of my best shooting milsurps. We'll talk more about the ethics of sporterizing after we take a close look at this rifle. Swedish Mauser. Shooting this ammo right here. This rifle is an M38 made by Husqvarna in 1941. A little hard to see the markings because of the scope. This rifle as a whole, you can see the bluing is a little bit faded, but it's overall in good shape. One interesting thing is the Swedes like to put their crown on like every small part. I'll try to point those out as we go over the rifle. Here's another one. One thing I like about the Husqvarnas is they made them with a bent bolt handle, which to me is more ergonomic. Here at the bottom of the magazine, we see another crown, and also here. The stock, I believe, is beechwood. This grain pattern is indicative of beech. Detractors will call these maggots. And we have a cleaning rod on this one and a front sight protector. You can see the blue of this is darker than the rifle. Yes, even the barrel bands up here have the crowns. The Husqvarna also has a shorter barrel than the original M96s. This one's about 24 inches, so it's closer to what we think of as a sporting rifle today. At the rear of the rifle, we have this trajectory chart. This is just a decal that was glued on. The purpose of this mainly was if you had an older M96 rifle with a sight that was calibrated for the older style bullets, this would show you the correction needed for the newer boat tail bullets that they switched to. And this guy is pretty interesting, this disc. So this shows you the condition of the bore mainly. So there's 3 sections on this disc, and this section here shows you the diameter of the bore. And the way this one reads, it's 6.52. And if the bore opened up to 6.55, that's when the Swedes would replace the barrel. This section shows the amount of rust in the bore, basically, and a 1 being the best condition. I don't think they ever marked 3 because they would just replace the barrel at that point. And this section here shows your holdover you need to use. So torped means this is calibrated for the new torpedo style bullets or boat tail bullets. And overslag would be your amount of holdover, and there would be a number here if it needed it. And this STR means Strex, which is basically mils. It's very close to mils. So if you had a number here, you would need to hold over, this many mils, basically. I do want to point out, in case you're ever shopping for a Swedish Mauser, that you shouldn't depend on this disc telling you the current condition of the bore. Rather, this tells you the condition when it was last evaluated by a Swedish armor, which could have been decades ago. I have a reproduction sling on this rifle, and it is correct for it to have one finished leather side like this. The ammunition used in this rifle is 6.5 by 55, also called 6.5 Swede. I know 6.5 Creedmoor is the new hotness, but the Swedes had this in 1894, and it's basically the same thing. It's very flat shooting, it's relatively low recoil, very good cartridge. I do want to point out, so I have these rounds loaded on an 8mm Mauser clip. You see, they do fit on the clip, but they will not feed into the rifle. See another crown on our follower, by the way. What happens is the rounds won't strip off the clip. You see, the whole clip is going in right with the cartridges. And that's because for a Swedish Mauser, you need to use a Swedish Mauser clip, and which is wider than the 8mm clips, if you notice the extra space there in the clip guide. So I don't have any Swedish clips, so I have to single load this rifle. So let's talk about that S word, sporterization. I think this can be broken down into a few different categories. The first would be restoration, which is keeping true to the heritage of the rifle, replacing broken parts, refinishing with correct methods perhaps, such as using boiled linseed oil on elite Enfield stock. Basically just maintaining the rifle in the same way that the Army would. And I'm perfectly fine with that, especially if you have a non-functional firearm. There's a YouTube video that I'll link to that someone literally pulled an SKS out of a river, and parts were rusted away, and basically as a challenge he decided to restore it, and it's pretty cool. Check it out. One thing is, though, if you have done a restoration, you cannot try to pass that off as authentic or original condition. Refinishing typically does negatively affect the value of a historic firearm. You wouldn't want a reblued Luger, for instance. Collectors always like the original condition, even if it's kind of trash. Now, for a non-collectible or a non-historical firearm like a Glock, which they still make today, a nice finish will always improve the value. Just a quick side note. Sporterized, what's sporterized? That's our middle category, I guess. Well, you could argue that this is sporterized, although it could easily be restored, that first category. Sporterized is what you would find from the days when milsurps were cheap. Decades ago you could get surplus bolt actions for like $50, and people would buy them up, maybe do a project on them. Commonly, what you would see is they would chop the stock down, and they would drill and tap the receiver to hold a scope. And the point of that basically was trying to make a cheap hunting rifle. I definitely would not do that today. You're definitely going to destroy the value of your firearm for sure. But we can try to understand those guys, why they did it, and forgive them. Our final category is Bubba. You all know Bubba. He's the guy who likes to go way too far on things, try to make the rifle into something that it's not. Usually you'll see this with like SKSs that have the stock changed out for a plastic folding stock, and of course they throw away the original wood stock. Along with the 10-round magazine, they changed that out for like 30-round detachable magazines with that duckbill. I guess they're trying to make their SKS into an AK, but there comes a point where maybe you should just love the rifle for what it is. When it comes down to it though, when you buy something, it is your property and it's your decision on what you want to do with it. I will say though that financially, you're going to always be best if you just leave it in original condition, or perhaps restore it if necessary. One last note about this scope. Obviously you see it's quite forward of the normal position on a scope, which would sit back here. This is sort of a scout rifle concept kind of scope, where when you have a forward mounted scope, the idea is you have more situational awareness of your surroundings because you can see around the scope. It's definitely a compromise though, because the picture you're going to get out of the scope it's definitely not as good as one you have closer to your eye. Really, I wouldn't recommend it, but it's a compromise for a non-permanent modification. That's all I have today. Thanks for watching.